All right, so let's start with our classic retirement type problem. So when we think about our classic retirement type problem, we're thinking, all right, well, we're going to retire. After 30, 40 years, we graduate. Maybe we start to work a little bit, buy the house we always wanted, and I don't know, maybe what are we, 25? So we start retiring at 25, or start working at 25, go through about 30, 40 years of working, and what do we think, 65? Sounds good? Let's hope, right? That'll be a good one. So let's do this retirement problem. So this retirement problem reads that we're going to start working at 25, go through about 40 years of working, and then we're going to retire at 65. Our goal here, though, is to, after we retire, be able to withdraw $150,000 every year once we retire. Mom and Dad lived to about 80 or so, so we're thinking we're going to live to 85. So we have 20 years of retirement. All right, so let's work with a timeline to start. So let's think. We're about 65, we want to hit retirement. We're going to start our work life at about 25. And we're thinking after retirement, hopefully we live another 20 years. So this is sort of our timeline of our age of where we're going to go from our work life into our retirement. And so once we hit retirement, we're thinking, all right, we need some money. So we need to try to withdraw $150,000 a year, every year, throughout our retirement. So our question here is, how do we do that? Right? How do we retire, withdraw $150,000 every year for 20 years and deposit that money in while we're working through our work life? So classic type of retirement problem. So two stages of this. First stage is, let's think about retirement. How do we figure out how much money we need once we stop working to be able to withdraw $150,000 every year?
Got to find out how many years we need the money.
Perfect. So we're thinking here 66 to 85. So in this case, we have our 20 years that we're going to withdraw these payments. So 20 years of payments. Our problem tells us that we're able to do it at 9%. Now with the market, as we look back in history, well, the market does about 8 to 10%. So maybe we can pull that off. Maybe we can pull off a 9% interest rate.
I would imagine it'd be compound interest too, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely compound interest. So that we're going to think we need to do compound interest. We have 20 years of payments, and again, we want $150,000 every year. So how do we go through this process? Well, we need to figure out then what our present value is once we retire. What present value do we need once we retire to withdraw $150,000? So classic formula that we've played with before, we want to find the present value of these payments. So let's go to our calculator and type in some of our fancy numbers here and figure out what we have. So as we look at our calculators, we're going to put in our number of periods as 20 years. We're going to put in our interest rate as 9%, our payment as $150,000, and we're going to figure out what present value that's going to amount to. So what do we need to have when we retire to withdraw the money? So $150,000 as our payment, 20 years as our number of periods, 9% interest rate. Perfect, good job. So $1,369,281 and about 85 cents. So that's what we need. So if we do this right, we'll be able to retire as a millionaire, essentially, and be able to then withdraw $150,000 out of our account and be able to live off of that for the rest of our lives. So now the second part of our problem kicks in. How much do we need to put in every year while we're working through our work life? So this now becomes our future value, our goal at retirement. So our goal at retirement is to be able to have in our account $1,369,281. So this now becomes what we strive to get, our future value. What we're thinking then is, again, we're working throughout this time, so now our number of years are 40 years of payments. Again, we're hoping we can get this 9%, and we should be able to. So 9% interest rate. And once again, we're thinking we're going to make payments every year while we're working so that we can get to this future value of $1,369,000. So once again, we're going to look for our payment. Okay, so this is going to be our annual payment. So now we have in our calculators $1,369,281.85 as our future value. Our N becomes 40 years while we're working. 9% interest. Again, we want to compute our payment. So what do we get? Well, just a little over $4,000 a year. So $4,052 and about 54 cents. So not bad. If we save $4,000 a year, we'll be able to retire as a millionaire. And once we do that, we can take out $150,000 every year. So this may be put into one of the IRAs that we talked about, a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA. Right? Those caps are about $4,000, $5,000 a year. So we can easily do this and retire a millionaire and go on from there. So that's one side of this. We can also look at, well, what if we had a bunch of money today and we just want to deposit money today and forget about it? Put it in, forget about it, and go on from there. Same type of problem on the retirement side. But now, instead of doing payments, let's see what will we have to do if we would just want to put in one lump sum value and again get to the retirement goal of $1,369,281. Once again, we have 40 years to wait for it. Our interest rate, still 9%.
We'd be going after the present value.
Exactly. So we want to find now just our lump sum present value. What do we need to deposit today? Leave it in there, let it sit at 9% for 40 years, and make the $1 million that we can now take out $150,000 every year. So $1,369,281.85. It's our future value. 40 years, 9%. Figure out our present value. We're looking at a lump sum deposit of $43,594 and about 62 cents. So if we had that, put it in, leave it and forget it. Millionaires. Sounds good?
Sounds great.
Nice.